have your attention, please? The ceremony that you are about to witness is an Army wreath-laying ceremony to be conducted by the Director of OPM. It is requested that everyone remain silent and standing during this ceremony.
Thank you.
Going to the Arlington Cemetery to do the wreath laying with our veterans employee group is very meaningful because it just gives you a minute to pause and reflect. And we don't get those moments very often.
Forward! Forward! Hold! Forward! Forward! Ready? Hey!
I did that ceremony, the wreath-laying ceremony, either as the person laying the wreath or the person presenting. I did all those roles when I was there back in the 80s. And so this was the first time I actually got to be on the other side and to assist the director with laying the wreath, which was quite an honor.
I don't have family members who have fought, but I'm always trying to find ways to listen and understand what those experiences have been. I just think it makes me a better person and a better leader. The kind of leader I want to be doesn't always fit well in Washington, D.C. You constantly are battling against kind of this imposter syndrome of like, you're not the most assertive or the loudest. Should you be here? Are you qualified to be here? Oftentimes it is the quiet leadership that I think gets overlooked. That's actually been an issue in the Asian American community. We need people of all shapes, sizes, and stripes in the federal government. I've had these opportunities in my life where I've just had to step forward and be courageous. As scared as I was and nervous as I was, it was important as an Asian American woman to take that lead.
Look at me, look at me, look at the phone, look at the phone. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Reed said we have 30 seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Reed.
Thanks, Angie. Put me out there.
So you wanted to come.
Oh.
You were like making
I was,
you
yeah.
were being relentless. It's helpful because you got here.
yep. A lot of people don't want the responsibility. It's hard. You're married to that thing, to that place for as long as you're there.
Yeah.
Even when you're off, you're not. You're training for the next day or
Yeah.
getting your uniform ready.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh yeah, thanks.
So I wanted to quickly just chat about Labor Day so you have a good
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Packed day for a Friday, but
After also coming back from a trip as well.
I know. How was your break?
I stayed here. I told myself I wanted to do a little bit of nothing since I was going to be doing a lot of everything the next few
Oh, really?
weeks.
Yeah, I know. Are you settled in yet?
I am.
In your place? Where are you?
Karen. She's extremely busy, but if you talk to her any day, you wouldn't even realize that like all of this is on her plate and how she has to carry herself. Somehow she has brought it down to a science of like, this is who she is, and she just takes all of it with such grace and passion and strength.
All right, so what's on the calendar for tomorrow?
Tomorrow, you have your joint hearing with OMB.
That's
Big
right.
deal.
Okay. Yeah. And DOD.
Oh, and DOD.
And
That's a big
ODNI.
deal. And Cleela has a HRS meeting with some leadership that's pretty important to focus on.
Yeah.
The best talent is getting tapped in January, February.
Yeah.
And we can't wait until April or May to post.
We are really trying to set the bar here. We know that we want to increase the number of internships like across the board, but if we can make more of them paid, I think it really does allow for so many different groups of people to be able to come into government.
I'm a child of immigrants and she is an immigrant, so we relate to each other and we really think along the same lines when it comes to how you serve people and how you lead. Oftentimes you will have people in leadership roles who really want to be front and center, want to be the face of things, and while she does that well, she loves to ensure that other people's voices are at the table and that we hear from as many people as possible, regardless of their position, so that we get to the best solution.
As much as I care about the work that we do, I care about the experiences of the people that I work with. I have fought for really being able to center diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility because that's been my life experience. My parents were, impacted by the partition of India. So, they had to leave their home country, which is now Pakistan, and start a new life in Mumbai. I think it had its challenges, but they didn't really talk about those experiences as much. When we came to the U.S., my father was a psychiatrist, and where they needed my dad was in these rural areas around the country. So we were this Indian family dropping down in these like really small towns in the South, and sort of completely different experience from coming from Mumbai. There were only very few Indians in the town where I was in. But I always felt different. My hair was different, my color was different. So it was always feeling a little bit like an outsider. I remember just really trying so hard to fit in and trying to figure things out because it's not like my parents were a guide. They just grew up in a completely different time, era, different country, different set of norms and culture. And I remember when I was on a school bus in Pineville, Louisiana, and I remember that I was making friends with Black female students, and then I had friends with, these white female students, but they weren't friends with each other. I remember one day, one group saying, "Come over here, Kiran, and sit with me," and another group, "Come over here, and I just remember just being really, like at 10 or 11, being like, what do I do? And that was the starting of my experience of how things were so segregated. And I came to learn after the fact that the school district I was in Savannah, was under a desegregation order the whole time I was going to school. I just figured this is what you do when you're in school, is that you get bused across town. My mom, she was always just such a very strong female and always took charge of things. And, just in my personal life, when my dad fell ill, like he was the one with the degree and the ability for the family to earn money, and she didn't. So she went and worked in the flea market and got her license in real estate and just any way to kind of make sure the family could make ends meet. And I think for me, it was a mix of like what I needed to do to not only kind of survive, but like excel and not wanting to be a burden on my family.
Kiran is really the chief people person of the federal government. And as the director of the Office of Personnel Management, she drives that day in and day out so that we can strive for the federal government to be a model employer. There are 2.1 million civilian employees in the federal government. And the things that we do at OPM help support those agencies in making sure they're bringing on the best talent. They're helping to address skills gaps in the workforce. So we play this huge supporting role, and Kiran is really like at the top of that, and she has developed really strong relationships with leaders in all of the agencies across government to facilitate us performing that role.
Even Seema was like, "Where's OPM?" I'm like, "Hello, like you're right."
It's been a while. All right.
Anyway.
Good to see you. Happy holidays. I've known Kiran for about 10 years, going back to our time in the Obama administration, when she was the executive director of the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and I was President Obama's liaison to the API community. think Kiran's time leading the White House initiative prepared her for this current job as OPM director in a couple of different ways. I think first and most importantly is she is relentless. She is undeterred, she is scrappy, she's really good at figuring out how to cobble together resources and get people and get them bought into what she's trying to accomplish. I think the second thing is, she really understands the various connections between all the needs and services of any community and how they experience the federal government. And that's important here at OPM when you have a federal workforce that's trying to work on behalf of all Americans. She really understood what it meant to listen to every part of our community and really try to think about how we're going to advance progress for all of us.
When I was graduating from law school, the job I wanted was to work in the Civil Rights Division. What I saw in the world just had such a huge emotional impact on me, and I just was like, I have to do something about it. I can't just sit and kind of watch what's happening. Then I was just very passionate about social causes and social issues, and civil rights was a passion and why I wanted to be a lawyer. I went for the interview. I remember going in thinking to myself, okay, I'm not gonna put a lot of stock in this because I'm not gonna get this job because I'm competing with all the folks at all these great law schools. And lo and behold, I get the letter that I'm 1 out of 5 in the country. And so that was my entree into the federal government, was to work at the Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. It was also interesting being a young woman of color, in my late 20s, and being told I have to wear pantyhose and skirts to the courtroom, and having older white gentlemen across the, on the other side who just couldn't believe, oh, you're representing the government. Seema and Jenny are my colleagues in the administration, and I've known them for a very, very long time. From when I landed here in DC, more than 20 years ago. They had such drive, and they cared so deeply about the people around them. And so I have some really important mentors who just supported me to take the leap, and that they would be there to help me.
And I think that's what brought us together, right? Is wanting to make sure there was a voice for Asian American women across a spectrum of social justice issues, and that just resonated with us because we recognized that often those voices don't have a seat at the table.
So much of this, our relationship and friendship, both personal and professional, has been, I think, for me, so gratifying and so rewarding. We want to do meaningful work, and we want to do it with people we respect. And I think about all the times that I would call you all up and say, should I do this or that, or just relying on each other.
And just over the years, sometimes we don't talk for a little bit, but it's always coming home, and there's always these pivot moments, I think, in our careers where it's coming home to say, here's where I am, and here's what I'm facing, and what do I do?
Yeah. I love these times where we can just hang out, and I know how busy we can all be. So, but I really do treasure these moments of just being able to hang out and spend time. And we don't get to do it enough. That is the problem.
Absolutely. Well, let's make sure we do it more. I know you have a meeting to get to.
I know you guys do as well. Bye. Okay. So good to see you. So I was nominated by the president to be the director of the Office of Personnel Management. But even though the president nominates, it has to go to Congress here in this country. And then I have to go before a committee and speak about my understanding of the issues and my qualifications. And then the Senate votes.
The committee will come to order. Today we're considering the nominations of Kiran Ahuja to be Director of the Office of Personnel Management.
Thank you, Chairman Peters, Ranking Member Portman, and members of this committee for your gracious welcome.
It was a harrowing experience, frankly. I was asked about the history and my, commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and whether that would somehow make me kind of partial or have a certain bias.
Do you commit now to administering the Federal Health Employee Benefits Program in accordance with existing law?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. I understand the role and responsibilities for this position, and I would absolutely follow the law.
As you're well aware, federal cybersecurity is a significant challenge to agencies as we continue to face breaches? And will you make this a priority?
I think it's an important issue, and I definitely commit to working with you in this committee on those issues.
And so my question to you, my final question to you is that will you commit to uphold and protect our merit-based employment system and the core values that underpin that?
Thank you, Senator. I do understand the role of this position. I very much take that very seriously and upholding merit system principles. I also understand the value of no one should be discriminated based on their race. I was a former civil rights lawyer, and I take that very seriously. I think we all uphold what Martin Luther King Jr. said, which is we should be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. And that's the approach that I've taken.
And with that, this hearing is now adjourned.
It was a tough experience, and that's unfortunate, because I think it sometimes does dissuade people from going through the confirmation process. But I think it was important as an Asian American woman to be courageous.
Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here today to officially swear into the Office of Personnel Management's new director, Kiran Ahuja. I had the pleasure of working with Director Ahuja when she served as OPM Chief of Staff from 2015 to 2017. If you'd please raise your right hand.
I, Kiran Ahuja.
Success comes from doing what you love, not looking for things that you think make you successful. I picked the job because this speaks to me. I feel like I can contribute. It's meaningful. I want to make a difference. And I think that's what brought me to wanting to work in the community, to wanting to come into public service, was because I think those are meaningful jobs.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Well, congratulations and welcome, Director Ahuja.
Thank you.
Before Kiran was nominated, OPM had been through a very difficult several years. The agency's existence was threatened. Many parts of the federal government had gone about their business of figuring out what they were going to do without OPM. So when Kiran was ultimately confirmed, what she did from day one was really establish that OPM was going to be a force in this administration, that OPM was important, that the mission that we have is critical, not only for OPM, but really for the success of all federal agencies. And she set a tone for the rest of us.
I think the quality that makes Kiran a strong leader is compassion. I think that's important in any leader, right? You don't want just to have a strong vision, an idea of where you're trying to go and how to accomplish it, but really being compassionate and caring about people. Because at the end of the day, as she understands as OPM director, people are the secret sauce to everything we're trying to do.
I am inspired to see her day in and day out deal with the highest ranking officials in government and win them over.
It has taken me a long time to figure out that I'm okay with my leadership style, which is to be an empathetic and collaborative leader and to not feel like I have to be the smartest person in the room or, always have the answers, and that everyone has a role. We have to have people of every walks of life, every stripe, because that's the community we serve. That's the American public. And if we don't have those individuals reflected, then we don't know how to best serve those communities.